Good evening, everybody. It is Monday, February 24th, 2025 at 6 p.m. and I will call to order the Freetown Board of Select meeting. This meeting will be recorded and will be available on the town's YouTube page. So first we'll just jump right into agenda item 1. It's open session minutes from 1/21/2025, 2/23/2025, and 2/14/2025. Any questions on that?
No.
I'll entertain a motion to approve those open session minutes.
Motion made. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, and now we have building commissioner here to discuss the next 3 items. So Carl, we'll start off with agenda item 2, discussion on the appeal of the building commissioner's decision letter for 175 Quanapog Road.
So thank you to the Selectmen, and gentlemen. So this is so we have a process when you get complaints. First of all, we're going to reach out to people, talk to them. Maybe it's a misunderstanding we have, we work it out. If that doesn't work, we send a letter. When it register a level where it threatens neighborhoods or the town in any way, I go to the town administrator and we talk about what the threshold is in fact, but we need town council representatives. In the case of 175, I always said it was a civil matter between neighbors, water runoff, nothing we can do. So we need representation. The town is not involved in that part of it. 30 Brownsville, we had a neighborhood turnout of about 20 people. A large structure being proposed to be built on the property will be a problem for the neighborhood. It could catch fire. So this is important. It raises to the threshold. We need representation. Make sure we fight for everything we can to protect neighbors and neighborhoods. And the other one we have on with us is 180 Brayley Road. So this parcel is familiar to the board and to the town. 10 acres of land is used as a contracting yard, as materials, as scrap. That we tried numerous times to reach out to the attorneys, to the owners, communication, emails, letters, so that didn't work until finally we came to the board and said, this raises to that threshold, we have to protect the town and the area residents. So we're successful in court with that one. They have until May to show that they will be more than half of the properties cleaned up. It's got to be completely cleaned up by July 1st. So that was a win for the town. It's going to protect the neighbors. Again, the select board been involved in the beginning. So this is one we have to protect the neighborhood. It was worth the investment in spending the money on that. But we do try everything else. Like I said, we try reaching out personally. We send out letters, communication. So when it gets to this point, then we need help, and that help comes from town council.
Okay, thank you. And then so just the first 2 items, so Quanapog and Brownsville, so are those, they're being appealed to the state because they don't agree with like
Correct.
the decision that we made, right?
It's the building department complaint, meaning failure to act in some way.
Yeah.
The house starting before I came on, I did do the final CO. Since then, they've added stuff, and they put some in the driveway, might cause the water ship naturally downhill. So we need that protection. They'll go to the Board of Building Regulations and Standards, BBRS in Boston. They'll adjudicate it there. So we hope to have obviously town council present there also.
Yep, that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. The one on 180 Brayley Road, have we noticed or has anyone said anything about if they've started cleaning the property up yet?
No. So this goes back quite, almost 15 years. So this is egregious. Again, egregious to the threshold of stuff going to be done. Enough's enough.
Yeah.
Neighbors have enough. Talk about diminishing property values. We have scrap yard next to you. This is one of those situations. So we're looking forward. Went to court, housing court, concurred with the town. We got to clean it up.
Yeah.
That was a win.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And if they don't clean it up by those dates, then there's got to be some kind of recourse, right?
Well, by the courts,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah, but
But in some cases, the courts could take possession and then watch the cleanup after that. They don't report to the court on every period of time. So
Yeah.
the court takes control of it.
Gotcha. All right, great. Any questions?
No.
Good. All right. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate the update. Do you have any other questions on these? Yeah. Yeah. Do we have one more?
Yeah.
Oh, agenda item
Agenda 5.
5. Sorry. Thank you. So agenda item 5 is discussion of vote whether to waive fees for accessible ramps on exterior of homes in Freetown. Yeah, Carl, want to give us the rundown on this one,
So
please?
this is our scheduled building fees. This would be one that we charge someone $75 per ramp. I would hope the board would be entertaining the idea of maybe waiving that fee in some certain situations. I don't want $75 preventing somebody from taking the steps to be safe in their homes.
Yeah.
Or staying in their home a little longer. So that's pretty clear cut for the board to decide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't even know we were charging a $75 fee for that. So,
Yeah.
and I mean, it's not like it's a big revenue generating item. I don't think there's not that many ramps going in
Yeah.
town?
No, I mean, as long as it's just residential, right? So if there's a fee associated to a business, that would be different. Okay. Yeah,
Well,
that's,
should we put it at the discretion? I mean, I guess, are we allowed to do this? We put it at the discretion of the building commissioner to waive it, or council?
I generally, departments can set fees when the select board can review those. But, my concern when you implement discretion is that there can be a suggestion of, misuse of discretion. Not
Yeah,
just
yeah.
bad. So generally, and I think Carl has kind of described a particular circumstance. If you do it in a manner that's consistent across the board, that eliminates any, concern about, disfavoring or somehow giving an advantage to one individual as opposed to another. So when you talk about waiving fees generally, once you inject that level of discretion, it can raise challenges.
Yeah.
what about if we do, like I said, with residential and commercial?
So we just waive.
Just waive just residential, and then that way it's very clear cut.
There's a hard line, that's
Clear
what I'm
cut.
getting at.
Okay,
That's a hard
perfect.
line as opposed to sometimes, certain, commercial buildings.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Others,
Yeah.
you want to be careful about how you implement that. So, it's something that, certainly the board can consider and we can review further if necessary, depending on what policy the board chooses to adopt.
Yeah.
Beyond that, absolutely.
What discretion would we have, or would I have? We asking for proof of, maybe we need for that, or?
Well, I don't think I'd even, I think like,
No, we think
it would just be
waive it.
all residential. If you're putting a ramp in your house, waived. Commercial,
For that type of handicap accessible,
yeah.
only, correct?
I mean, I guess maybe I was assuming that the ramp would always be for handicap accessible use,
Yeah.
but
Person has to be,
ADA compliant.
enabled, or?
No, I don't think you want to do that.
The concern you get into,
HIPAA
Carl,
laws.
is, under the ADA and other regulations, you can't actually ask somebody to disclose or provide.
That was my point.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it does become more complicated if you said it's only gonna be for those who can demonstrate a handicap. It's the same reason why when somebody asks for an accommodation, you can't ask them to prove their disability.
Yeah.
So we can't go to that extent. That's why I was getting to these hard lines
Mhm.
as opposed to discretion, because then you'd be weighing, well, does this disability allow versus that disability? And you're actually getting into civil rights issues that, really can complicate the matter. That's why I would suggest if the board wants to come up with a policy, or if you want to suggest a policy, we can certainly review it, but I'd like to see hard lines rather than any injection of discretion. And, the idea of making people prove their disability does become very difficult.
Yeah. Does,
I think Selectmen, David's, definition of single family home, I think that for all residential homes.
Residential, yeah, just blanket is residential and commercial, and that way it's,
That's a hard one.
so do you think the best option here, I mean, rather than voting on this right now, do you think if you want to get a policy together, then we can get that in front of the board stating that, and then we can approve that policy or vote on that policy? Does that
I
make sense?
suggest that if Carl wants to draft it through the town administrator, send it to us, we can give it a quick review and then turn it around.
Does that make sense?
and that makes you happy as far as doing it that way, you think that fits, yeah.
Well, that way we can back up whatever you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And we can get that on the next agenda. It doesn't seem like a very complicated one,
No,
right?
we should go for
Okay. Are we all set there on everything? Okay, great. So with that, so I'll move on to agenda item 6. Discussion and vote on awarding paving improvements at the highway barn project. And we got a few bids in, right? Low bid, which was looked at by our who is it? GPI. So it looks like they recommended the Partlow and Son paving. Any questions or concerns?
No.
That bill, I'm trying to remember, it was like 139,
139,866.
which was under our, like, we had 150, okay, yep. So are we good there? Any questions or concerns?
no, it's needed.
All right, so with that, I'll entertain a motion to award the paving improvements in Highway Barn Project to Partlow and Sons Paving Inc.
A motion made?
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And then, agenda item 7, this is just to approve the agreement between them, so, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agreement between the town of Freetown and Partlow and Sons Paving Inc. for paving improvements at the Highway Barn project.
Motion made. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great. Agenda item 8, discussion and vote whether to approve Bristol County Mosquito to use air sprays over Freetown for annual aerial applications scheduled for April through October of 2025. Weather permitting. Everyone okay with this?
Absolutely.
Something we do every year, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so with that, I'll entertain a motion to approve Bristol County Mosquito to use airspace over Freetown for annual aerial application scheduled for April through October 2025, weather permitted.
Motion made.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Now we have ambulance abatements and write-offs. So for January 2025, it was $144,131.91. Any questions or concerns on that?
It's a good chunk.
It always is.
It really is. But not much we can do about that. So I'll entertain a motion to approve ambulance abatements and write-offs for January 2025 in the sum of $144,131.91.
Motion made.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We have a new snowplow application for this winter. Bobby Amaral, all the paperwork's in, everything's good?
It is, yes. We did have him approve. He did do the last storm, so we were looking to see if we could go for 2.5.
Yeah,
He did.
it was kind of an emergency situation, right? Questions or concerns?
No.
No, they're needed.
Okay, so with that, I'll entertain a motion to approve the snowplow application for the winter 2024-2025, effective as 2/5/2025 for Bobby Amaral.
Motion made.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Agenda item 11, discussion of vote. Sorry, this desk is.
Keep your wall.
So agenda item 11, discussion the snow removal account for fiscal year 2025. I think we put like $100,000 or something. What did we do?
We do 150.
150, and it's either way too much or never enough. So that's just the nature of the beast. And do we have the numbers? Do we have what we're at now? I'm sorry, I don't have them.
No.
Okay.
We were 20,000 over.
We were 20,000 over before the last snowstorm.
before the last, yeah, I think so.
Yep. Any
It goes
questions?
fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, it needs to. Yeah.
Any questions? We're good?
Yeah, it's part of doing business. We've been lucky over the years, and now we finally got some stuff.
Yep. So.
Yep.
All right. So with that, I'll entertain a motion to authorize overspending the snow removal account for fiscal year 2025.
Motion made.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Agenda item 12. This is discuss and vote on any recommended motions for the special town meeting warrant for tonight, 2/24/2025. Is there anything we need to talk about there?
The only one is Article 3 with the tax payments.
So Article 3, tax title,
Yeah,
payment bylaw change, the language change.
so I think there's a clerical error that it needs to be changed to.
This reference is D3, but the second page raised warrant, and it has to be D2.
It is D2. Just tell D2.
If you look at the second.
Oh, okay.
Page 3. Right at the top, it says in section D3, but it's supposed to be section D2.
Got it.
I don't know that that's correct.
If
I
you're
think
looking-
it's supposed to be D3.
So like the bottom of page 2 and the top of page
Right, yeah.
3, it says, the first says in section D.2, by deleting therefrom and strike through language and inserting in place thereof and bold underlined language as follows. Are we sure they're not talking about two separate sections? Like D3, like there's a change to D2 and a change to D3?
There is.
Okay.
Yeah, my understanding, if I may, my understanding is that we're making multiple changes. Section C1, as you see, and then section D2.
D2.
and there was an issue there.
Right,
that we
that's
wanna
the issue,
discuss.
yeah.
And then the third, I thought that was.
I believe it is D3, I believed I checked that.
I think that you had an email in your binder there.
I know, but,
That's-
Green from,
from you, but
yeah, that was correct, and my reference was D2, not D3.
Oh, I can see how I can get confusing.
I said, that, yeah.
yeah, I was
that
gonna say, I'm
made
pretty
contact
sure
with
that
you.
I checked I
Yeah.
changed them when I was
So-
drafting it.
Yeah, do you want me to?
Yeah, sure, go ahead and go.
Yeah, so in D2, you'll see that the change, all these changes are to comply or to undertake actions that are allowed under the amended statute. And they are intended to make it essentially easier to get these agreements and to make them apply to
Yep.
the broader selection of individuals. The change in D2, one of the things that was allowed under the new statute is, it used to be, you could waive 50% of the interest. And now you can waive whatever, you don't have to even waive all the interest. So the concern, if you look on page 3 of the warrant, at the very top, it says, shall include a waiver of up to 50%.
It should be 100%.
No,
Oh.
it can still be 50%. If you see, what we did was, we allowed that, you would not include a waiver of interest that hasn't already accrued. We're only looking at interest that accrues during the course of the agreement. The problem is the up to language. The Attorney General has consistently struck agreements that have any discretion in them. So when you, again, this kind of gets back to our
Oh, okay.
conversation we were just having moments ago, that the statute specifies you have to specify what's going to be waived. So if you're going to waive any of the interest, you could waive all of it, you could waive none of it, but you can't have an up to that triggers a discretionary amount.
Gotcha.
We went through this. This issue came up in other towns where there were a couple of areas where there was some discretion, and in the past, the Attorney General issued warnings and just advisories and consult with town council, and now I've seen several where the Attorney General has struck them altogether. So my recommendation, if you want to waive 50% of the interest that accrues during the course of the agreement, just when the motion is made, strike the words up to.
Yeah.
So approve as written in the warrant with the words up to deleted from the new section D2 as printed in the warrant. And I think Deb, you,
I most likely will have to make that motion to amend, right? So I'm just gonna make a motion to amend the article to strike the words up to
yeah,
in the section, under D2.
right, that's all you need to do. And so make that motion as the main motion, and if necessary, I can explain it, hopefully,
Yeah.
this time that I just did.
And we'll just give Mike a heads up, right? Hold him up.
Yeah, I might have already actually.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, that one, that's,
I think
and I agree, we don't want discretion. I mean, that's one of the reasons why we want this, is so that.
not allowed.
No ambiguity.
Right, well,
And it helps, yeah, it
Well,
makes it easier.
it's been sort of willy-nilly up to date, like,
That's not the word
And-
that's not the word that the AG wants.
right. Nor does any of us. I mean, it's difficult because
It
then
is, yeah.
personalities get involved and people, I
Well,
mean,
that's
we
exactly-
feel bad, we feel bad, but this makes it easier. This is the rule and this is it.
That's exactly the issue, and like I said, the statute is pretty straightforward, and yet, a lot of towns have implemented levels of discretion, and the AG has said, no, this has to be, because we're dealing with taxes.
Yeah.
You can't have personalities and personal concerns, and I feel bad for this person, I don't feel bad for that person. That's what we run into.
Well, and it changes as the personnel changes, right? So we have,
That's
so
true, too.
one person does it one way and then a new person
So
comes
it'd
in.
be nice for
So this is much cleaner for us.
I agree.
So
That's a nice way of putting it.
That's,
Yes, that would be the only change.
and then the only other comment here that Luann put in was under Article 8, our citizen petition was
Yeah.
the workplace violence policy that we have. My thought was, and you jump in, Mark, but is that the citizen petition, this can be enacted to change, to exempt the town buildings from the state. And if so inclined, the selectmen can always change the workplace violence policy.
We have taken the position that the select board as having control of the property, and the buildings can enact, and there's actually specific language in the statute that talks about being able to enact stricter regulations. But this is a contentious area, as you can imagine. It's a local acceptance of a statute. Essentially, you'd be authorizing, not you, town meeting, would be authorizing individuals to bring weapons, firearms into administrative buildings. Well, even, you know, we're in a school right now, but you're using this as an administrative building during this meeting. And so while schools are considered prohibited areas where firearms can't be brought into schools, if you exclude administrative buildings from the definition of prohibited areas, and you use a building like this for administrative purposes like we're seeing right now, that could potentially allow individuals to bring firearms into the school. So it does,
Interesting.
it's not quite as straightforward as everyone thinks.
Did not consider that.
And, yeah, and we talked about this a lot with libraries that allow, again, you know, meeting rooms for municipal purposes. Whereas I dealt with one where there was an ice skating rink that one of our municipalities had, and they were concerned about that. Because, you know, tempers get hot during hockey games.
Yeah.
And so they took the position that even though it was not an administrative building, it was under the care, custody, and control of the administration in that city, and the city manager issued a policy saying no firearms. We do think that there's language in the statute that talks about the ability to impose stricter regulations, but there's a concern that if this is implemented, there could be unintended consequences.
Is there a way, there's nothing, first of all, there's nothing that supersedes with the schools over, as far as jurisdiction, over this more than what we have in place, right? So if this gets enacted, there's nothing that would say because this is a school, the firearms aren't allowed here, regardless of how we vote and how our town what policies our town holds?
Again, what's interesting is that the statute talks about the ability to adopt, it talks about, nothing in this paragraph in the statute shall limit the authority of any municipality, county, department, division, commission, board, agency, or court of the Commonwealth to adopt policies further restricting the possession of firearms in areas under their control. So there is the ability to further regulate, notwithstanding. So if a town legally exempts from that definition, there is that provision that allows other policies to be adopted, but you're dealing with an evolving area, an area subject to challenge. You know, so the idea of accepting the statute is to allow firearms to be brought into buildings that otherwise would have been considered prohibited as administrative buildings. There's not even a clear definition of administrative building, which is why we're talking about what's happening right now. A school building, by definition, is a prohibited building. You're using it right now for administrative purpose. If somebody said, if the statute was accepted and someone said, I'm not coming in for school purposes, this is an administrative function, town meeting, and particularly the Board of Selectmen's meeting, this is administrative. And so you're now using this, you've transformed this into an administrative building. Now that, to my mind, doesn't necessarily mean that the school superintendent and the school committee having jurisdiction over this building, because obviously you don't have jurisdiction, I should say the regional school, the school district has jurisdiction over this building. They can impose stricter requirements, but you wind up with that possible area of challenge. So it is a concern. I don't know, obviously, you know, the board has to decide whether it's going to make a recommendation on this petitioned article. You're not required to make a recommendation on the petitioned article, whether you're going to, and you know, what considerations you give if you want to just let the public debate. But that's one of the areas of concern is unintended consequences and the greater difficulty to say, all right, town meeting accepted the statute, but the superintendent is imposing a policy, or the board itself is imposing a policy on property that you control.
And then the other part is this is in a different town, right? So we're in Lakeville right now, so that would, Freetown Elementary, but if Lakeville hasn't adopted this, even though we're using it, it's still under in Lakeville.
And that, wow, that's actually an excellent question, Jared, because where we are in Lakeville, but we're using this as a Freetown administrative building.
Yeah.
And you have legislative authority to have your meetings here, your town meetings specifically in Lakeville. And you're using this by permission as, it becomes essentially an extension of Freetown here. So the question then becomes, Lakeville hasn't adopted this, and the superintendent imposes a stricter policy, but now Freetown is using this building. It's open, this is open, being open to any member of the public as a meeting of the Freetown Board of Selectmen. So you do raise a very interesting question. And, this statute was hotly contested on both sides, this special act was hotly contested on both sides, because it obviously, it came out as a result of the New York case where the court struck down the New York ban on firearms. So Massachusetts imposed what was supposed to be a stricter rule, but it had this exemption, and it doesn't, in some ways, have very clear definitions. So that's the issue that we're talking about right now, Jerry. You point out that definition is difficult because you're using this as administrative. If you decide to have a public meeting in your house, and which makes your house accessible to the public, will I be able to bring a firearm into your house if it's exempted by action of town meeting? I'm trying to take it to an extreme for a reason.
No, but
So
yeah.
you can see unintended consequences. So it's something you need to think about as opposed to whether or not you believe it's appropriate. And we've had the comment made from some towns that firearms have been brought into meetings for hundreds of years in this country. In certain municipalities, but we know people brought their firearms into meetings and we haven't had a problem. And I know I have not witnessed, I'm very well aware of firearms being brought into meetings that I've attended, and I have not witnessed an incident.
Yeah.
But, it's obviously a rare thing, and the statute was enacted specifically to address this issue, this concern. So, again, unintended consequences and, lack of strict clarity in the statute.
Interesting.
It is interesting, it's actually very interesting
Yeah.
and difficult.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, a couple curveballs in that one.
Yeah, and that was the point of this discussion, is you may have come in with a particular perspective on this, but the curveball makes you wonder, where do you want to take this? And that's a policy decision.
The selectmen can always enact a policy that, if this gets approved at town meeting, exempting the town buildings. The policy, there is the workplace, which means the employees cannot bring a gun
You
to,
can certainly have that in place.
but can they also say, okay, at any public building, you can't bring in a gun?
We've argued about that, and again, it's that language that I just read to you, that's actually in the statute that says, nothing in this paragraph shall limit the authority to adopt policies further restricting the possession of firearms under their control. So that would be property that's under your control, that would be property under the district's control, property that's under the school committee's control, being the elementary school, things like that. So we believe that you can enact, and certainly from the personnel side, you can enact that so that other than, and I've seen this quite frequently, other than local enforcement officers, your police department, no one can bring, no employee can bring firearms into the building. And then whether you go further and notwithstanding the acceptance, the local acceptance of this statute, exempting administrative buildings from the definition of prohibited locations, but you could enact a more restrictive policy. That's the language that's in the statute, and it seems like it gives you that ability, notwithstanding the action of town meeting, to still impose a restrictive policy. A little bit possibly contradictory, Because it says, you know, there's a legislative function, town meeting takes a vote, but then you maintain that executive function of adopting policy.
Yep.
Clear as mud?
Clear as
mud.
mud.
Clear as mud, yeah.
Clear as mud it is.
I did my job.
Yeah, it's definitely making us think. Definitely seems like a policy needs to be enacted after this to clarify what it is and isn't. Obviously, I think we're all, I can honestly say, I think we're all Second Amendment right? We appreciate it. We're for it. At the same time, we also want to protect, ensure children are never harmed in any way. That I'm a firm believer, guns don't kill people, people kill people. So I got to look at that as well, right? So it's a different, yeah, clear as mud.
That's what I'm saying,
Yeah.
it's not intended to, you know, take a position, what I'm saying is not intended to take a position so much as to give you an understanding of the curveball. And so, looking at it from a Second Amendment perspective, doesn't necessarily get you around the concern that do you want firearms in a building with the unintended consequences? And what position you choose to take. And again, you know, the select board could choose whether to take a position. You're not obligated, obviously, to make the motion on this. Somebody's gonna have to make the motion, and each one of you can speak as individuals, whether the board wants to take a board position.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, so,
That's the only comments I had on that.
and, yeah, and, I mean, the only thing we have in the agenda here is to vote on whether to recommend or not, right? We can't make any changes anyways, so,
Right.
No, just to, I guess to recommend the motion, at least on the other article, on Article 3. Are you okay with me making that motion?
yeah,
Absolutely.
yes. So do you have to vote on that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Vote on
Recommending,
Legal
recommending the amendment to the article, right?
So leaving the up to language.
Yeah, the motion to it. So yeah, so I'll entertain a motion to change the language, to have a motion to amend the language on Article 3 to remove the up to 50% part of that
And
article.
if I may, it is possible, Deb, if you discuss this with Michael, he might
Do it.
read it, yeah.
do it himself by saying, you know, it's been brought to my attention, you know, that there's an amendment, and he could essentially read the article with the amendment, and then if somebody then questions it, I can explain it. So it might make it easier.
He's done that for us in the
He's done that
past.
much
Yeah,
time.
I'm sure he'll be happy to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
If you approve it, we can discuss it with him. And
absolutely.
it might make it smoother.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
yeah, so with that motion made,
Was the motion, you said up to 50%, do you want
We're
to
just
just?
taking
just strike out,
Up to.
just up to, sorry.
Remove the words up to.
Yeah,
Yes.
Leave it at 50%.
That's my motion.
all right, motion made.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and then what I'm thinking about for the rest of the articles, I think we can recommend all of them and then not take a position on Article 8, based on the conversation we just had. There's
Yeah.
no reason for us to, I mean, if individually, if any of us want to stand up and speak our piece on it.
Right.
I
And
think
it's,
you already did.
You already have done.
You guys have already recommended all the articles other than the element.
oh, okay. All right.
I don't know that you
so
did.
we don't, maybe, yeah, right, I know it's written here, I just don't know if it's, because we always do this last minute, you know? So we're, I
Unless
think,
there's a change, but you guys have all, gave our recommended, so unless there's something,
Yeah.
you wanted to change,
no, I don't think so. So are we good with this agenda item then?
I think we are.
All right, move on to agenda item
13.
13. This is just acknowledging setting up recordings clerks 1, Freetown, ma.gov for Nina Dumont, and transfer station 1 email address for Thomas Ashley. No vote needed there, just an acknowledgement that we've set up these email addresses, which is
Yeah.
great. Agenda item 14, discussion on safe routes to school, shared use path among Memorial Drive.
Yeah, I received it, you should have it in your packet, some information, they're just looking for comments on this. This is the grant that Victoria got to do that 10-foot wide shared use path on Memorial Drive, you know, for people walking and bike riding. We're trying to do a sort of a all-encompassing park over there so you can enjoy it and sort of tie the walking trails together and whatnot. And this is one phase of it. So it's a grant and they're sort of doing all of the work. So it's just, hey, do you have any comments? We're sort of partially through this. I sent it to the board and also to the school to say, do you have any comments? Because if anybody has any comments, and if anybody in the public has comments and wants to make comments, now's the time to relay the comments. So that's really all that is.
Okay, any thoughts on that?
No, this is a great grant to get. It'll tie in that community nicely. So
Yeah.
looking
I
forward to it.
think it will. I think that park area will be really nice when we get it all
Okay, well,
done.
I'll take a look at that and try to see if I have any thoughts. Most likely not. I'm sure there's smart people looking at this. So.
Yeah.
All right, great. And then agenda item 15, discussion and vote on host community agreement waiver request from American.
So American reached out and asked for a host community agreement waiver. I'm working with Nicole Constanza with KP Law on this because there's a lot to it. American, as you know, has the grow facility in town, but their tenant left. So it's actually, I don't know if it's vacant, but they're not growing at the moment. And they're working on getting, working on getting the license themselves to grow in their own facility. Right now, they lease the building to somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
And they need to get these host community agreements in place. However, the laws behind the host community agreements changed in 2022 and really can no longer get fees just for getting fees. There has to be some true impact for the fees. Or you can just waive it altogether and tell them, hey, we're not gonna negotiate a host community agreement, and we'll just waive it. I don't know that I'd recommend waiving it at this time, and that was sort of the where we're going. I reached out to Tim Keogh from American. He's gonna get some information, and we're going to work on putting together a host community agreement. There probably won't be any financial impact to it, but I'd still I'm worried about odor mitigation up there.
Mm-hmm.
Because right now there's a 30,000 square foot building, and I can smell it personally some mornings. They're proposing 20 times that. So I think if they are able to continue and grow their business as they're hoping to.
No pun intended.
Yeah.
For other business.
Grow their business. We may end up with some, we may want to be able to do some mitigation for odor control and want to have that opportunity to do that. So Nicole, KP Law, and myself and Tim will kind of negotiate something. I feel like he's in a rush for it, so we'll probably have it on the next agenda. And if we're not complete, I might ask the board to give me the authority to sign the host community agreement.
I mean, I don't know what the rest of the board thinks, but that makes sense to me. I think it is in the town's best interest to keep them operating.
Yeah.
Especially with some recent news, we want to keep our businesses operating. So, we don't want to get in the way of.
Yeah, and I think it's just logistics at this point. But with these licenses, they're highly regulated and they need these things. So I'm working on it. There's no vote that needs to be taken tonight. I just wanted to bring it to you.
So, I agree, and I don't want to shoot ourselves in the foot by saying, let's just waive this now, and then we can't have that, I don't want to use the word power, but, the ability to go back after it.
And that's kind of what
So it's just,
councils, say, hey, if you do that, then you're done. You can't negotiate anything at all.
Yeah.
So, although we have had 0 incidences that I'm aware of,
Mhm.
Since they've been operating up there.
But the smell thing makes sense to me.
The smell thing I'm more worried about than trying to get, a couple of dollars of revenue out of them somehow based on, because I do remember when they came in about that other facility on Copacut, they were telling us, the attorney that came in said that we can't get money from what you're talking about and saying how hard it was to get the money to calculate it all out.
Yeah, I think if there's an actual impact that you can prove and that you can then send along to them, and you have to send a bill and document it, then it's gonna go to and every year they do, or every 2 years they send me something asking me for the impacts, and I throw up my arms. I don't have any,
Yeah, and honestly, it is fair that they've changed that law because it adds a lot of.
Yeah, we weren't getting a lot.
Like, what is it really? What is it really? What it's really just like a.
When the statute, when the question was originally passed and there was statutory enactment, there was a concern about impacts, all kinds of impacts.
Yeah.
Added police support and added traffic issues, added activities of all sorts. And the reality is, to a vast extent, that has not materialized.
Yeah,
Some of the towns talk about, we're gonna see more road traffic, so wear and tear on the roads. You know,
Yeah.
kind of hard to show.
yeah,
And even the police presence has, they're not much different than liquor stores now.
exactly.
And I think it was just because it was a case of the unknown.
Yeah,
And the state, as this law has evolved, the state and the Cannabis Control Commission in particular, have really clamped down on the concept of what you would collect, because a lot of it became a revenue generator
Yeah.
as opposed to, and I heard, you know, the reference to, as an example, the revenue for rents. The idea of these things, these are supposed to be fees. Fees are not
Yeah.
to generate revenue.
yeah,
It's not supposed to be a big money maker, it's supposed to reimburse municipalities.
Mhm.
In this case, the impacts just haven't been of that level of significance. And there's a lot of litigation right now as to whether the retroactivity of the changes in the law, that's a whole issue unto itself.
Mhm.
But going forward, it does become very difficult to impose these impact fees when there's no impact.
yeah,
How about water? I don't know, right now they're at 30,000 square feet, give or take, and they're going up to 900,000 square feet in the future.
They're gonna pay the water.
Right, well, they're pumping up, are they taking it from the well? or
they gotta be far
From the well?
from, no, they
Town-
can't.
No, no.
Townwide.
Town, what is town water? All right, so I'm less concerned about that.
Yeah.
All right.
Their bigger problem is getting rid of that water,
Yeah.
because they've already had a septic fail, and they had to rebuild it, right? So they need, they need sewer,
And
as,
have it.
and they don't have it.
Right.
That's their biggest problem.
Right, and the odor issue, obviously, that's an actual mitigation issue, that's not a fee.
Yeah.
They have to manage their.
Which, and I got a tour of them. They do have the things that are supposed to mitigate, like it's like misters on the fan, but
Right, they do.
we all live around each other. You can smell it. You know, there's no,
Yeah.
not that it smells terrible,
I
but
think
you know.
it's early in the morning and I think
Peppermint
it's like
and all
the
sorts of
bears,
flavors.
Yeah,
Because they do all the damage.
Oh, they flavor it, they scent the smell by peppermint or
Yeah,
whatever
they
flavor
do.
of the week it
Yeah.
is. But you can still smell it. I too went to the facility and walked around
And they take water.
and
Yeah.
it was pretty nice day of the art, but at the same time, there's a lot of stuff growing and a lot of
Yeah.
water consumption and stuff getting sucked out as far as odors.
Yep.
Can't control the winds, so it's tough.
yeah.
Right.
All right. So I think we're good on that.
Yep.
So move on to agenda item 16. Sorry, I keep clicking. I know I'm not supposed to click. Sorry for the camera. Discussion on utility leaking. Yeah, Liv, make sure I don't have a cookie pen next time.
Can't be trusted.
I cannot be trusted.
So this is just an update to update the board. There's been a water leak on Innovation Way that appeared, I don't know when, maybe 2012, but there was talk about it in 2018. And this is a water line that was put in by the state at the request of the city of Fall River and paid for by the city of Fall River. It has to do with Amazon, I believe. And that part of the road is owned by the state, Mass DOT. It's not a town-owned road, and therefore it's also not a town-owned water line.
Yep.
Sound like this is like deja vu for me.
Yeah,
Right.
And,
sounds familiar.
So the Mass DOT is concerned about the leak because it's in the overpass, and of course it's dripping down and it's freezing and causing icicles and could be a hazard. And so they want to get it fixed. So they're looking for the town of Freetown to fix it because it's located in the town of Freetown. We did have a meeting today.
Wait a second.
Sounds familiar. This is,
Literally just happened on the other side of that.
Right, located in Freetown, but a state road, and we don't own the water line. So I was able to track down the IMA with the Fall River that talks about this particular thing, that says that they will, they're gonna put it in, and all the businesses on Innovation Way that get water, like Neon and Amazon, all pay their bill to Fall River.
Mhm.
Town of Freetown does not.
But they're not a part of our our water.
Not part of our line that
Yeah.
comes down Main Street. So I did have a meeting today with Mass DOT at their request, or actually at my request. I wanted to have a meeting because I wanted to get them all in the same room, but I was able to give them the IMA that pretty much says this is Fall River's issue. But I just wanted to make you aware of it because we were in this like similar situation as New Bedford, and I'm like, what is going on? But
Yeah.
I think
This sounds like a better situation than investment.
It
Well,
does.
I think that we only had Mass DOT on the meeting. So the Mass DOT is now gonna look for River, so I don't know how the resolution will be on that side of
Okay,
it.
I language sounds clearer.
But I
Yeah.
think because we have the IMA that is active and it's not it's not 100% clear. It says that they will bill for it and blah, 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 blah. It doesn't say they will maintain it. Doesn't say that language anyway, but it's still, if you read it, the intent is there, and I think that we all sort of agreed. So just wanted to make the board more aware, actually, this is going on.
Okay.
Back in 18, when the leak first arose, that line was actually shut down. So it wasn't repaired, and there was questions about whether there was really a leak or it's groundwater. Now the DOT is saying, no, this is definitely a leak and it's a different location. So I just wanted to make you aware that I am working with the water and sewer commissioners. And of course, Chuck is always there to support, because this is not his road. But just so you're aware, if anybody complains about anything up on Innovation Way,
Okay, good to know.
so I'll keep you in the loop.
I appreciate it.
Just
All right.
wanted you to be aware.
So anything else? All right, so we're gonna adjourn this like we do after we sign. Up here?
I gotta go check in.
This one's just me.
Overspending the budget.
Sure.
Thank you.
All right, all signed? All right, so with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion made.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.